In previous video, we talked about basic Azure Load Balancer. And in next video, we'll be talking about standard load balancer. And this video, I'm just creating to understand the difference between basic public IP address and standard public IP address. Basically, we'll be talking about the IP address type and the allocation method, which would help us to understand the difference between load balancers as well. That's the reason this video is in between basic and the standard load balancer. So on screen you can see I'm just trying to create a public IP address, and you can see these queues. It wasn't there before. It is the new as compared to the basic one, and before this queue was introduced it was all basic public IP addresses. Okay. Now, as per SKU, we got two kind of public IP address, basic and standard, and both have their own features and their usage. For example, standard load balancer cannot use the basic IP address. You gotta use the standard public IP address. Same goes for the basic load balancer. It cannot use the standard public IP address. It can only use the basic public IP address. And the standard public IP address, if I choose, you'll find, look at the IP address assignment, it will be static always. What that means, the allocation method for this IP address, for the standard public IP address, is always static. It cannot be dynamic, but the basic one can be static and can be dynamic. All right. Now, the thing is, standard load balancer is zone redundant. So is the standard public IP address. That is the reason standard load balancer needs or requires only the standard public IP address. Standard public IP address is zone redundant. You can utilize this for the resiliency between the zones. Okay. And by default, standard IP address is secure. That means all the traffic is closed, all the inbound traffic is closed, and you need to explicitly open the or whitelist the allowed inbound traffic. If it doesn't make sense, let's go to the basic. You would understand. If you use the basic, everything is open if you do not apply the NSGs. Once you apply the NSGs, then you decide what kind of traffic port or IP can talk to your destination. But if I talk about standard, by default everything is closed. Nobody can talk to anyone until you whitelist it. Okay. Now there is one more thing. Basic public IP address used for the network interfaces, VPN gateways, application gateways, and internet facing basic load balancer. Same goes for the standard public IP address. It is used for network interfaces, standard public load balancers, or application gateways. Okay, so that's the basic difference between basic and standard IP addresses. So it's a very small video just to understand the difference between the IP addresses, because in next video we'll be talking about the difference between basic and standard load balancer, and this would help us to understand those differences pretty well. Well, thanks for watching. You have a good day.